All right. Shalom, Israel. Shalom. Welcome back to the New Wine Congregation of Israel. This brother Nashon with Elder Ozias. All right. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai being the name of his only begotten Son, all right, who in the English is referred to as Jesus the Christ. All right, so we're going to be going over a prophetic class this evening, most high willing, going into they shall burn her with fire. All right. The reason that the Most High put this on my spirit to talk about is because we're entering closer to the time of World War III. We're entering closer to the time where the United States of America is about to be destroyed with nuclear fire. All right. So we're going to do our best to go through the precepts to show how that's going to take place and why, and the order in which it's going to take place. All right. So let's start out in the book of Psalms. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 94. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, Psalms chapter 94, and we're going to start at verse 20. All praises to the Most High. He left us all the clues that we need to be able to discern the times. All right, so that's exactly what we're going to do through the precepts. We're going to read the precepts and we're going to discern the times. All right, so let's start at verse 20 here.
Psalms chapter 94 and verse 20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?
All right, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? All right, so the throne of iniquity, a throne is a place of rulership. So this is talking about someone who rules through iniquity. They rule through sin. It says, shall we, the Israelites, God's chosen people, have fellowship with this ruler, which frameth mischief by law? This throne uses the law that they have, not God's laws, but their own laws to frame mischief. All right, let's keep going.
The king, let me comment on that there right quick here.
Come on, bring it out.
It, it was brought up at camp also, man. You know, we trust in these people, the so-called Edomites, and look what they do to our young people, man. I brought out Sabbath. You know, I remember young guy coming up, Tony Anderson. He went out on the ocean with them guys and he got killed. This guy, Nolan Wells, he went out in the ocean with these guys and he got killed. Just because we trying to bring some kind of unity with them or friendship with them, but you can't be friends with somebody who God don't told you they your enemies. You can't do it.
That's right. That's right. That's an excellent point. Every time we tried to do that, it has never worked out for us. The Most High says that the soul, their soul, which is, let's get that precept. The Most High says their soul, which is in them, is not upright. All right, let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and let's read verse 4.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith.
Right. So his is that's plain, right? This is talking about Esau, the race of Esau, Edom, right? It says his soul, which is lifted up in him, is not upright, but the just shall live by faith. And that's a reason, that's a way that you can differentiate the wicked from the just, right? They'll live by faith, which is following the commandments of the Most High, right? We're going to get into this verse 5 a little bit later on. But you're absolutely right, King. Excellent point. Excellent point. Let's go back to Psalms 94 and let's read verse 21.
Verse 21. They gathered themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemned the innocent blood.
All right. They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. So you don't have to do anything wrong. From the vantage point of this throne of iniquity, they'll see that you are righteous, but they'll condemn innocent blood. They'll pass laws so that you cannot operate in their society, and they'll condemn you and make it so that you are, in extreme cases, put to death. All right. So, what's the solution when you living in a place like this? All right. Should we take up arms? Should we get all the ammunition that we got and try to outgun them, right? What you got to remember is you dealing with somebody whose blessing is the sword. All right. Their blessing from the Most High was to rule with the sword. All right. So you can't outgun them. All right. Their technology and their witchcraft is so advanced that the only thing that we can do is fight against them by the spirit of the Most High God. All right. Let's go to the book of Zechariah. That's exactly what he told Zerubbabel. All right, let's go to Zechariah chapter 2, yeah, chapter 4, and verse number 6.
Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 6. Then he answered and spake unto me, saying, This is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts.
By his spirit, all right, by us gathering together and keeping the commandments of the Most High God is how we're going to overcome this throne of iniquity. All right, from there, let's go to Jeremiah. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51. And let's read verse 6.
Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense.
Right. So it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon. It says here, be not cut off in her iniquity. Right. So we read in Psalms 94 that this is the throne of iniquity is what we should not have fellowship with. So now the Most High through the precepts is giving us more and more clues. He's making it more and more clear who that throne is. And here it says Babylon. All right. And it says to flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul, right? So when it says flee, it's not talking about pack your bags up and leave the country and go to another country, right? Because this devil rules the world. The world is given into the hand of the wicked, the Bible says. The way that you deliver yourself or flee from this place is by delivering your soul. Your soul cannot be tied to the ways of this society. Your soul cannot be tied to sin, right? It says, be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. All right. So from there, let's go back to Zechariah. Let's go back to Zechariah chapter 2 and see can we get some more clues on what this Bible is talking about. Zechariah 2, and let's read verse 6.
Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 6.
Mhm.
Oh, oh, come forth and flee from the land of the north, says the Lord.
Mhm.
I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith the Lord.
Right. So it says here, ho, ho, come forth and flee. The same thing it said in Jeremiah 51 about Babylon. Now it's saying flee from the land of the north. Now, ancient and Neo Babylon was not north of Israel, it was to the east. So it can't be talking about that place. It said flee from the land of the north. and that means the northern hemisphere, going into North America, right? It says, saith the Lord, saith Yahweh, I have spread you abroad, meaning we're scattered as the four winds of the heavens. All right, let's read verse 7.
Verse 7.
Mhm.
Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon.
Right. So it's making it more clear. It says, deliver thyself, O Zion, Zion that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon. So who is the daughter of Babylon? Let's see if the precepts make that clear. So it said the land of the north, and now it's saying the daughter of Babylon. Let's go to the book of Psalms. Psalms 137 and verse number 7. All right, let's read that.
Psalms chapter 137 and verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof.
Right. So the subject here is the children of Edom, who in the day of Jerusalem, when the Babylonians came and took us into captivity, they said, raise it, meaning burn it, even to the foundation, that it would be the temple. Right. Read on.
O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us.
Right. So the daughter of Babylon is the children of Edom. Why? Because they take on the characteristics of Babylon, right? False deities, right? They took the children of Israel into captivity, right? And we're going to uncover some more characteristics as we keep reading. So the children of Edom are the daughter of Babylon, right? The children of Edom are the daughter of Babylon. So let's go back. Let's go back to Zechariah 2. So it said, flee from the land of the north, the children of Israel, North America. And then it says, deliver, O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon. So Zion is chiefly dwelling with the daughter of Babylon here in America, which is Babylon the Great. All right. From there, let's go back to Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51.
Come on, King. And everybody wonder why it's so hard for Jake and Eve to come up there to the different camps to talk. Because they don't got assimilated. Remember, we talked about that on at camp at one Sabbath. They don't got assimilated into the system, man. They comfortable where they at. And they don't want nobody or nothing, not even God Almighty, to try to come and interrupt that, man. They good.
That's right. That's right. That and you in the spirit. That's exactly what this next verse about to talk about. How we're our people are comfortable, right? And the nations have been comfortable with this harlot, with this whore, right? Let's read verse 7, Jeremiah 51 and verse 7.
It's Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7.
Mhm.
Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nation had drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad.
Right. So it says Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and it's got the earth drunk. When a person is drunk, they'll be there. That's when you lose what's called your inhibitions. You're more susceptible and passive to things that you wouldn't be if you were sober minded. Right. So let's deal with that. It says uh Babylon have been a golden cup, right? Let's go to the book of Micah. It says that they have all the earth drunken with that wine, right? Let's go to Micah chapter 2 and verse 11 to see what that wine is.
It's, it's Micah chapter 2 and verse 11. If a man walking in the spirit and falsehood do lie, saying, I will prophesy unto the wine and of strong drink, he shall even be the prophet of his people.
Right. So the spirit here, the wine here, it says is the spirit of falsehood and lies, right? So this is how they have the nations drunk through falsehood and telling them lies. You understand? So let's go back. It says in verse 7, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that have made all the earth drunken with what? Falsehood and lies. It says these nations have drunk of her wine, the falsehood and lies, and therefore the nations are mad. Mad going into being crazy, right?
Right.
Crazy. And you don't want to fight a crazy person because they probably gonna win that fight, right? They
Right.
probably gonna win that fight. Right. Let's keep going. Let's read verse 8.
Verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Howl for her. Take bombs for pain. If so, BC may be healed.
Right. So it said Babylon is going to suddenly be fallen and destroyed. Suddenly, out of nowhere. It says here, take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed. You know what another way to say for that is? MAGA. Make America great again. They trying
Yeah.
so hard to heal this place, right? But let's see if they're gonna be able to heal it. Let's keep reading.
Verse 9. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go everyone unto his own country. For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies.
Right. So there's nothing you can do to make America great again. There's no recovering for her, right? So it's telling us forsake her. Stop depending on her. Stop relying on her. Stop thinking that this place gonna last forever. Because it's not. It says, and let every one of us go into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven. The Most High said her judgment has already reached to the Most High. It's already done and sealed, right? And there's nothing that can be done to turn that judgment back, right? So we have to forsake her, right? Let's keep going.
King, and everybody, I mean, if they paying attention to the time, they can see that the dollar ain't worth nothing. It costs too much. Okay, once you break, oh, shit, let me get. How can I do? Okay, you go in the store with $100 bill. You pick up about 5 or 6 items. You icing yourself as you walking out. Damn, what I got? And
Right.
I ain't got no money. Money ain't worth the value that it used to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Because they, through the fiat system, right, which is the monetary system that America uses, you exactly right, man. The fiat system allows is basically America saying we don't have the gold to back each dollar anymore.
That's
The
right.
fiat system is basically them giving you their word that this promissory note, which is all a dollar bill is, right? It's just a promissory note. Them giving you their word that this note is worth something and it's good. But we just read that they got the nations drunk with falsehood and lies. So
Yep.
the nations have figured out, damn, they've been lying to us. This promissory note ain't worth a damn. They done figured that out. So this is exactly right. This is why you go in the store and a dollar is not worth what it used to be worth anymore.
That's
Now
right.
it take you, I mean, and I know Elder, used to get a lot more for a dollar at one time than you do right now.
Yep.
Right. So go ahead. You had some?
No, no, go ahead. I'm disagreeing with
Here, come on, one second.
you.
Get my charger real quick. But yeah, so the dollar is nowhere near worth anything that it used to be. Right. So let's keep going. Verse 10. Let's read on.
Verse 10. The Lord had brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God.
Right. So that's plain. It say the Lord have brought forth our righteousness with what? That's chiefly going into the king. right? He's brought forth our righteousness because Yahweh Shai is our righteousness. He's allowed him to die for us so that we can be reconciled. And then it says, come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. The us here is Israel, not all nations. It's talking about Israel declaring the work of the Lord, right? Which is us. We're the work of the Lord, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
Make bright the arrows, gather the shield. The Lord had raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes,
Mm-hmm.
but his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple.
Right. So this is not talking about ancient Babylon when they say the kings of the Medes. Yes, the Persians and the Medes did conquer and destroy Neo Babylon, what it really was under Nebuchadnezzar. That did happen, but it's going to let us know as we keep reading that this is talking about Babylon the Great, right? Keep going.
Verse 12.
Mhm.
Set up the standards upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. For the Lord have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon.
All right, so it says here, set up the standard. The standard is the Bible, right? Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. The watch is you brothers, right? That's why you got all these different congregations, these different camps that are going out and pushing the word of the Most High, right? And prophesying and teaching the people the laws. So you got to be a strong watch. You can't be a weak watch, right? You have to be able to do this watch and perform this duty no matter what. We can't let nothing stop it. It rained all day yesterday. We still
Uh,
went out there. You understand? We still had to do that work. Brothers got wet. You know, it ain't stopping nothing. You understand? But that's what you call a strong watch, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasure, thy end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness.
Right. So ancient and Neo Babylon did not dwell upon many waters. When it say waters, it's talking about peoples chiefly, but literally many waters. America is surrounded by the biggest oceans, right? All around it, right? So it's dwelling in many waters and abundant in treasures. It says, thine end is come and the measure of thy covetousness, right? So the Most High is looking at this place and he said, your covetousness has exceeded the point that it can go beyond, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 14. The Lord
Mm,
of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men, as
mhm.
with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee.
Right. So it says, the Lord has sworn, it says, I will fill thee with men, right? America is a nation that has all people from all the nations within it, right? The same people that they over there going to war with, these Arabs and stuff, they over here, they own all the stores. They own all these bodegas and stuff like that when you go to New York. They everywhere. So when you look at a caterpillar and what it does to a tree, it eat it from the inside out. If a caterpillar get hold of a tree, that tree look like it's okay from a distance. But you get up close to it, it's got all kind of holes in it, and it's about to fall apart and crumble. That's the same way this country looks, right? And then it says, I want to look at this. It says, thou that dwellest upon many waters. I want you to take a look at something. All right, watch this. Let me show this image. Right. This is an image of the military bases that America possesses. Now it's small, right? The right. I don't want you to focus on the writing as much as I want you to look at all these stars are where America has military bases all over the globe. That's dwelling upon many waters. Ancient Babylon didn't have this. You understand? This is Babylon the Great that has this that's dwelling upon many nations. All right. So the Most High is making it clear, right? He's not going to say United States of America, but he's going to give us clues through the precepts of who he's talking about, right? So let's go from there. Let's go to Revelation chapter 17, and let's start at verse 1.
It's Revelation chapter 17 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And there came one of the seven angels, which had seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
Right. So I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore. Here go the image again. That's sitting upon many water. These are United States military bases. Right. So we about to read about the judgment that's going to come to America. Right. Let's keep going.
Verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
With whom the king of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Right. So it said, first of all, it said that this is a great whore. Real quick, let's go to Nahum. Let's go to Nahum chapter 3, and let's read verse 4. Why is it calling it a great whore? Let's read that.
Nahum chapter 3 and verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the multitudes of the whoredom of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft, that
Mm-hmm.
selleth nation through her whoredom, and family through her witchcraft.
Right. So no other nation did that as much as America has done it. Selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcraft. Which families and nations? Our families, the nation of Israel, the nations of Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom Israelites. And it says it does it through witchcraft, right? Witchcraft is when you can tell someone a lie and they know it's a lie, but they still believe it, right? That's what you call witchcraft. You know this is a lie, which meaning you don't believe what you see with your eyes and what you hear with your ears. That's dealing with witchcraft, right? It's selling these nations through that, right? And our people got caught up in this through the idolatry that the nations presented to us, right, throughout history, right? So let's go back to Revelation. Verse 2 said, who have committed fornication with the inhabitants of the earth. Now, fornication is dealing with sex, but America didn't go and literally have sex with the kings of the earth, right? What kind of sex did it have? Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. What kind of fornication took place? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, and verse 2. Verse 12, Salaki. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and verse 12.
It's Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life.
Right. So dealing with idolatry is spiritual fornication. All right. Spiritual fornication. Idolatry is anything that's telling you to be rebellious against the Most High God. And that's what America pushes to the kings of the earth. You go to look at the Arab man in his nation, and he got a three-piece suit on, telling the nations of the people of his nation that they can be homosexual. That's not his culture. That's not their philosophies. They don't, that's not his garments that they normally and traditionally wear. Three-piece suits with a flag lapel. They got that from America, right? Let's go back to Revelation. It say, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. How? It says, and have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So those falsehoods and lies that they got as their wine, wine is another way to say doctrine, right? That made them drunk till they didn't realize who they was in bed with, right? This well-favored harlot now look like somebody that you can deal with and make your wife, right? But it's a harlot, it's a hoe, right? And you can't trust a hoe, right? So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get some on that witchcraft and them whoredoms, right? And also that philosophy, right? Them going and pushing that philosophy to all these nations. Let's go to Colossians chapter 2 and let's read verse 8.
Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8.
Mhm.
Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit,
Mhm.
after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
Right. So the Most High is admonishing us, beware unless somebody spoil you. Spoil means to destroy. You can be destroyed through philosophy, right? If that philosophy, the so-called white man is the main philosopher, right? They got the eugenics tree. They got all these philosophies telling you, hey, don't spank your child. That's gonna make them not grow up and develop. The Bible say whoop that child ass, man. If that little
That's right.
boy or little girl being bad, the Bible say whoop they ass, beat them on their side. But through their philosophies, they say no, don't do that. That'll stifle their development. And no, that's why people destroy it because it ain't enough ass whipping going on in the house, right? Elder, you remember used to could get an ass whipping from anybody.
Anybody, bro, the whole neighborhood.
Whole neighborhood, right? So that made you carried yourself with a certain fear growing up as far as misbehaving or doing anything. You wasn't just worried about your parents seeing you, but you was worried about any adult seeing you, right? You could go to
And
school, the principal could whoop your ass, but not no
con,
more.
and
Not no
that
more.
bottom
Go ahead.
that that bought respect of you, you know, your neighbors and stuff like that. Cause you would always say, "Damn, our neighbor watching us" and stuff like that. But it was not a disrespect. It was out of respect for them looking after us because our mom and dad was either at work or either going shopping.
That's right. That's right. That was love. That was love. Exactly right. Right, Khan. All praise to the Most High. So let's go back. Revelation. Let's read verse 2 again, chapter 17.
Revelation chapter 17 and verse 2.
Mhm.
With whom the king of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Right. So the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk. You know how they made them drunk? Another way they made them drunk is through their policies. Right. Let me get this in let's go to Daniel. Let's go to Daniel chapter 8. Because they go over in everybody country and they make these promises and they pass these laws and everything and they deceive the people, right? And make them think that they aren't who they actually are. Right? Let's read Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25.
It's Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25.
Mhm.
And though his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
He shall be broken without hand. So it say through his policy. America still use this tactic through to the day. They
Yeah.
pass policies, right? And then it says, also he shall cause craft to prosper, right? Let's go into this craft. What does he mean? Craft. What do you mean by that? Let's go look it up. Hopefully you can see that, right? Let me see. Matter of fact, let me go into it in the blue letter. Let's go to Daniel 8 and 25 in the blue letter. And let's look at craft.
It's Daniel chapter 8 verse 25.
Hold on, you ain't gotta read it, King. Let me
Okay, so
Let me pull up. I just want to go into this word craft right here. It says mirma, right? Let's look at that. It says what? Deceit, treachery. You understand? Deceit, fraud. This is what they use the policies to make prosper. Fraud, craft, deceit, false, feign, guile, subtlety, treachery. You understand? So the Most High said that this is what they would use, right? And it said they would magnify him. He would magnify himself in his heart, in his mind, and by peace, by going over there with the three-piece suit on and shaking your hand, by peace shall destroy many. How many peace treaties they done broke over here just in this country with the native Indians, right? Our Northern Kingdom brothers. How many peace treaties they done broke, right? It says, and he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand, right? So I want to show you something else. Let's show you something else real quick. Let's go to Maccabees. Shout out to Brother Nehemiah going over the book of Maccabees every Friday. All right. If you want to tune into that, that's some good stuff right there. I believe you're on chapter 7. So that'll be chapter 8 next week. All right, every Friday, most high willing. All right, so let's read this. First Maccabees 8, and let's start at verse 41.
It's First Maccabees chapter 8 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people.
Right. So all this is the Greeks, right? The Greeks are the so-called Edomites, right? They just are referred to as the Greeks today, but those are the same people, right? The Edomites, the Idumeans. So are the Romans, right? They said he wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, right? All should be one people. Let's read the next verse.
Verse 42.
Mhm.
And everyone should leave his law. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Right. All the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. So I want you to look at something, right? Uh it said all should be one people. There's a phrase that the United States uses, e pluribus unum. What that means, literally in Latin, is one of many, right? Out of many, one, right? If you understand. So out of many peoples, one people. That's what America promotes the same ideal, the same philosophy, right? What about Rome? Let's look at Rome. Let's see if they got the same characteristics. Let's go to chapter 8 in First Maccabees, and let's start at verse 4.
First Maccabees chapter 8 and verse 4. And
Mm.
that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the places, though it were very far from them. And the king also that came against them from the uttermost parts of the earth, till they had discomfited
Discomfited. Discomfited.
discomfited them and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year.
Don't that sound like America? Same thing. Through their policy, right? Through their laws, it said, and patience, they conquered all the place, though it were very far from them. Let's pull the map back up. America is here. How the hell they get to build a military base over here? Through their policy, right? Through their policies, through their impatience. Patience to stop doing trade with you, put embargoes on you. And when you get weak and start running out of money and resources, you're going to give in to they policies. The same way the Greeks did, the same way the Romans did, right? Let's jump down. Let's go to verse 11.
Verse 11. It was told him beside how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms and isles that are at any time resisted them.
Right. This is talking about the Romans. It was told him, talking about Judas, how they destroyed and brought under their dominion all other kingdoms, all other countries, governments, and isles. Right. Look at here. Let's bring it back up. All the isles, all these little dots, all these dots over here, them islands. Right. It's islands all over there. It says, let's go back. It says all other isles that at any time resisted them. If you resist them, they'll do what? They'll come in there at the middle. Look at what they just did to Venezuela. Came
Yep.
in there, hijacked the oil tanker, kidnapped the president and his wife, tied them up, and say, "Hey, this our oil now." If that ain't gangster, I don't know what is.
That's
America's some
gangster.
gangsters, man. Go ahead,
That's gangster, bro.
That's gangster, man. Right? By looting and robbing is in other words. Right? So let's keep going. Let's read on. Let's see what else they say about them. Let's see if this keep looking like America, the Romans.
Verse 12.
Mhm.
But with their friends and such as relied upon them, they kept amity, and
Right.
that
They'll
they
they'll
had,
stay your friend if you relied on them. If you agreed that they were the superpower, they'll keep amity with you, mean they be cool with you, right? Read on.
and that they had conquered kingdom, both far and nigh, and so much as all that heard of their names were afraid of them.
Just like America, right? Read on.
Also that whom they would help to a kingdom, those reigns and whom again they displayed finally that they were greatly exalted.
Right. If they wanted to help you, then you put the suit on. They set you up with a media team with a little podium. You look just like America. You reign. It say, in whom again they displace. They'll come in there, take over your whole country, take all your resources, and you won't have nothing. It says finally that they here is wrong. They did that until they became greatly exalted, just like America. Right? Let's read on. America, which I understand, America is people who actually believe and think that America got all this stuff they got through voting because you cast
Mhm.
your ballot and you voted good enough. You cast a good enough ballot and voted good enough, and that's why America got all this land. Oh, they came over here and they just found the land and they just knew a better way for the Indians. And no, they took it, man. Right? The same way they doing all over the world. Right? Let's keep going. Just like Rome. That's important for later because you're gonna see that America is an extension of Rome. Right? Let's keep going.
Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby.
Right. So Rome did not have a king, right? They didn't have nobody who wore a crown, right? To be magnified thereby, right? Read on. Just like
Moreover,
America don't, right? Read on.
moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house,
Mhm.
wherein 320 men sat in council daily,
Right. So Rome had a
consulting
senate.
all.
That's where the idea of a senate comes from. It comes from Rome. Just like America. It says they had 320 men. America has 100, a senator for each state, right? And they counsel daily, right? Read on.
Call it a round table, don't it?
There you go. There you go.
Consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered,
To the end, they might be well ordered. Read on.
and that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them.
Right. So they would commit their government to one man every year. America does it every 4 to 8 years. Right. It's called a president. Right. They call theirs emperor, a Roman emperor. Right. That's who would lead their country. So it's the same thing. Right. We can see through the precepts. It's the same thing, right? I'm gonna let brother Nehemiah give y'all the rest of Maccabees 8. Let's go back to Revelation 17 and let's read verse 2 and 3.
Revelation chapter 17 and verse 2. With whom the king of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he
Mhm.
carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of name of blasphemy, having seen head and 10 horns,
Right,
having
having
7 heads and, and 10 horns. Like,
having 7 heads and 10 horns. So we know now how the kings of the earth are made drunk with that wine and what that fornication is. It's spiritual fornication, it's philosophies, right? Idolatry. You understand? And it says, verse 3, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit. Now he's seeing a woman sitting upon a scarlet colored beast. Why does it say scarlet? Right? It says scarlet. Scarlet is a type of red. Then it says the beast was red, full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, this is not a literal beast, right? This is not a literal beast. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. We're going to put it together, right? What's this scarlet colored beast? Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 18. Let's read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. I
Mhm.
said in my heart concerning the estate of the Son of Men, that God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts.
Right. So Solomon, in all his wisdom that the Most High bestowed upon him, lets us know. He said, "This I seen in my heart concerning the sons of men, not the sons of God, the sons of men, that Yahweh might manifest, that they might see that they, the sons of men, themselves are beasts." Right. So when it says a scarlet colored beast, it's talking about a red nation of people, right? A red nation of people. But I want you to notice something back here. It says this is a scarlet colored beast. It tells us in Revelation chapter 12, let's go there, that somebody else was red, right? Revelation 12. Let's go there. Revelation 12, and let's read verse 2. So in chapter 17, John is seeing a scarlet colored beast, right? But in chapter 12, he's seeing something else that was red, right? Revelation 12, and let's read verse 3.
Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3. And
Mhm.
there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
Right. So it's talking about the same thing. It's just a different kind of beast. It's still a beast, but it's still red. So we through the precepts, we know that a beast, men, the sons of men are being referred to as beasts. And now this is a red beast. So we gotta go through the precepts and see what people was referred to as red. Let's go to the book of Genesis. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25. And let's see what group of people, what nation of people is referred to as red. All right, let's read verse 25.
Genesis chapter 25 and verse 25. And
Mhm.
the first came out red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
And they called his name Esau. So the so-called white man is Esau. He is the people of Esau, the children of Edom. They're the only people on the face of the earth that get red. Let's look at something. Let's show you. Uh, right. Let's look at something. Right. So the back of my screen here is white. There's nobody that's white. Right. But look at these people. They all shades and derivatives of red. Look right here. They red. They not white. Compared to this white background, they red, right? Look at him. That was like Esau for sure. Red and hairy.
Yeah.
Red and hairy. This is what Esau came out looking like. Red and hairy. Those were the Greeks, those were the Romans, and those are the people who started the place we call America today. The same people, right? The same people, right? So let's go back. Let's go back to, matter of fact, let's go to Second Esdras. Let's see what the Bible say about Esau. Second Esdras chapter 6 and verse number 9. So it said these red people, right? These people that come from Esau are red. What did the Bible say Esau would be doing, right? Let's read verse 9.
Second Ezra chapter 6 and verse 9.
Mhm.
For Esau is for Esau is the end of the world, and
Mhm.
Jacob is the beginning of that follow it.
Right. So the Bible says we'll know, it's all kind of clues for us to know who Esau is. It said Esau would be ruling the world at the end. You got Christian scholars who say that Esau is the Arabs. The Arabs ain't ruling the world right now. The Arabs getting beat up by the Americans.
Yep.
Look, man, look at this one more time. Let's look at this map. Who look like they rule in the world? Just
United
look at
States,
it. United States ruling the world. Who started the United States of America? The so-called white man, right?
Esau.
Esau, Edom. It's right there. You can see it, right? That's plain, right? So let's go back to Revelation 17. The Most High said that whoever is ruling the world at the end is Esau. And that's why they changed the names. That's why they took the Apocrypha out of the Bible, because they didn't want you to put the pieces together, right? So that you could see who Esau was, right? Let's go to Revelation 17 again and let's read verse 3.
Revelation chapter 17 and verse 3.
Mhm.
So he carried me away in the spirit of into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blaspheming, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Right. So this woman, it tells you who the woman is in verse 18. Let's read verse 18.
Verse 18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigned over the king of the earth.
Right. So the woman that you saw was the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. America is the great city, Babylon the Great, that's
Yep.
reigning. Look at the picture. It's reigning over all the kings of the earth. Right. So it said, now I want to deal with something here. It said in verse 3, it said, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. If you're watching this class, pay attention. You might want to write this down. I'm going to say who the 7 heads are. All right. The 7 heads are Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain. All right. I'm going to say it again. Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain. That's the order and the succession of the Edomite rulers in this country, that in this world, that happened and that John is seeing in this vision, right? Then it said it had 10 horns, right?
Mhm.
Write this down. The 10 horns are what's known as the EU, or the 10 common markets. The EU was started in 1957. The European Union is the EU. The European Union. not the Europeans and the Africans, not the Europeans and the Chinese, the Europeans, the so-called white men. That union, right? I'm gonna say who it is. It's Bel now since 1957, they've added more people, more countries, but this is who it started with. It was Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, United Kingdom, Greece. That's 10. All right. Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, United Kingdom, Greece. All right. The European Union basically controls the money in the world, right? We'll get into that a little bit later, right? Let's go real quick to Second Ezra chapter 11, right? Second Ezra chapter 11, and we're going to start at verse 39. Dealing with the beast that John is seeing in his vision. This the same. So what you'll notice when you go into prophecy, when you read Daniel, right? When you read all the prophets saw the same thing. John the Revelator, Daniel saw the same thing, just in a different way. The book of Revelation is a book of like similitudes, right? It's something, it's saying something that means something else, in other words, right? So the fourth beast that Daniel saw in his vision was not expounded on to him, right? So let's read in Second Ezra. Let's start at verse 39. Second Ezra 11 and verse 39.
It's Second Ezra, chapter 11 and verse 39. Art now thou it that remaineth of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them?
Right. So it's saying the same thing he said in chapter 6 and verse 9. Esau is the end of the world. After that beast, the fourth beast that Daniel saw, after that beast, that's gonna be it. Jacob gonna rule. It says that the end of their times might come through them. This fourth beast is gonna make their own demise, basically. They're gonna create something in a situation that to bring their own destruction to them. Right? Let's keep going.
And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And for a long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit. That were past.
Right. So it says the fourth beast came. It says and overcame all those other beasts that were before it. It overcame Greece. It overcame all of them beasts. Right. After you had Greece, the same people kept ruling pretty much. The same people, the Edomites, kept ruling the world. It says and had power over the world. It says the world, the whole world, with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. Let's go back to the image. That's the whole compass of the earth. That's America doing that. That's that fourth beast, right? Let's go back. It says, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit, right? It's been 250 years right now. We just passed in July, right? So let's keep going.
For the earth has thou, for the earth has thou not judged with truth.
Mm-hmm. Right, read
For
on.
thou, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved the liars, and destroyed the dwelling of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm.
Right, making peace treaties and then going and breaking those treaties, right? Read on.
Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride to the mighty.
Right. The covetousness has reached to the heavens, as the Most High said. Right. Let's keep going.
The highest also have looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and the abundance are fulfilled.
Right. Their abominations are fulfilled. Right. It have looked
Right.
upon the proud times, having gay pride month, gay pride marches and parades, sanctioned and it was allowed to do it by the city. The whole state agree to that. Right. But we can't go so much as on any corner we want and read the Bible out loud without the police being called on us. Right. Do you know that people call the police on us for reading the Bible on the 4th of July? And the
Three
police
times,
came
bro.
three times, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, well, two and a half. Because the other one, he tried to play the shit out. Oh, dang. He tried to play it out, talking about he was just passing through. No,
Yeah,
you wouldn't. You got
yeah,
a
that
big old screen right there.
exactly. And that's for us reading the Bible, telling the truth, right? So those are proud, these are proud times we living in, right? Let's read on.
And therefore appeared no more thy eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain bodies.
Right.
That
So it
all
says, so it says, therefore, appear no more, thou eagle, right? What nation declares and represents themselves by an eagle? That's America,
that's
right?
right.
That is a miracle, right? Let's look at it. America, America's symbol, right? Got the Statue of Liberty there, but let's look. There you go. America's symbol, the eagle. The Most High said all these things for a reason, right? Because he seen all these prophets, he allowed these prophets to all see through the spirit that this was going to be America. That's the American seal right here. The eagle with the olive branch and the arrows, right? It pluribus unum, right here, out of many one, right? So that's the eagle that it's talking about. Let's go back. So it says, therefore appear no more, thou eagle. All right. Thou eagle. So we know that's America. It says, nor thy horrible wings. The wings here are its allies, the allies of America. It says, nor thy wicked feathers. The feathers are the leaders. All right. The feathers are the leaders. It says, nor thy malicious head. Right. The head is the kingdom. It says, nor thy hurtful claws. The claws is going into its military. All right. Going into its military. It says, nor all thy vain body. That's the country, the land as a whole. All right. So let's read on. Let's read the last verse, 46.
that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her.
Right. So when these people get destroyed, it says the whole earth gonna be refreshed. The whole earth gonna be refreshed when they're gone, right? It says, and may return being delivered from thy violence, right? So the whole earth waiting on that thing, right? All praises to the Most High. Hallelujah. All right, let's go back to Revelation 17, and now let's read verse 4. So we know who the seven heads and the 10 horns are that are on the beast that this woman, the red beast that this woman is sitting on, right? That this woman is sitting on. We know who that is now. Our praises. Let's read verse 4.
Verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication.
Right. So this woman he see is dressed up. That's what arrayed means. In purple, signifying kingship or royalty, and scarlet color, that red again, that red representing the people who are red, It says, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, right? So it's a lot that go into that. That gold and precious stones. Let's go to the book Lamentations, right? Lamentations chapter 2. What's the gold and precious stones that is decked with? Lamentations 2, I want to say it's verse 4. Let me see. I read this one in a long time. Let me see. Let me look in my Bible real quick. You got some, Elder, you can go ahead and say what you got to say. Let me look for the precept. Oh, it's chapter 4. Oh, is it? Yeah, chapter 4. Lamentations 4. Lamentations 4, and let's read verse 1. We finna see what that gold and precious stones is, right? That is decked with.
Lamentation chapter 4 and verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
How is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street.
Right. So now verse 2 is going to tell us what the gold and the stones are, right? Read verse 2.
Verse 2. The precious son of Zion,
Mm-hmm.
comparable to fine gold. How are they esteemed? As earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter.
Right. How the precious sons of Zion, the Israelites, right? Who it said the sons of Zion that dwellest in the land of the north, right? So that's the Israelites, comparable to fine gold. When we had our laws, when we had our land, when we knew who we were, when we knew we were kings and priests, right? We were comparable to fine gold, right? We knew what was unclean and clean to eat. We knew our place in as far as societal rank. Yeah, it was heathen around us, right? It was a great multitude that came out with us in the land when we came out of Egypt. But we knew that they weren't equal to us. We understood that. We knew that, hey, this Edomite right here, he's not my peer. He's not equal to me. He's my servant. He's my bond man, right? We had animals, and they would probably be the ones to clean up the animals' feces and keep the hog pens clean and stuff like that. Right. We knew that about ourselves then. That's when we were fine gold. Now we are esteemed as earthen pitchers. We esteemed as something that's worthless. And we pour it out in the top of every street. That's what you see when you go to the hood, when you go to the ghetto. You see the sons of Zion just walking around like they worthless. Because why? They don't know who they are. Right. So when we see Revelation 17, when it say this woman was decked with gold and precious stones, that's what it's going into. How they have accumulated their wealth off of the backs and the sweat equity of the sons of Zion, right? It then says, and pearls. So the other aspect of this, you got to understand, John is seeing a vision, right? He's seeing a vision. Now, I want you to take a look at something. This is America. This is a satellite image, right? This is a satellite image of America that look like precious stones and pearls. Because America is the country that never sleeps. Other countries, they are shut down after a certain time when the lights be off, it be dark. America's not like that, right? It stay lit up always somewhere, right? So when John is seeing this vision, he like, dang, it looked like they got on diamonds. It looked like they shining. It looked like they got on gold, right? So let's go back. Let's go back. Let's read verse 4 again. Matter of fact,
Verse 4.
let's read verse 5. So verse 4 says, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. That's going into her policies, because her policies promote sin. Her policies promote lies, filthiness. Two men, Obama came in office and said, I think two men should be able to get married. You know what? I think two women ought to be able to get married. That's filthiness. right? That's an abomination according to the Most High God, right? Our women came over here, they started putting on pants, right? The that's an abomination. Women aren't designed, their bodies have an open cavity, right? When you see the 1940s, before that, it was against the law in this country for women to wear pants. The 1940s came and they allowed women to wear pants. That's an abomination, according to Deuteronomy 22 and 5, right? So that's against God's laws, statutes, and commandments, filthiness of her fornication, right? Let's read verse 5.
Verse 5. And
Mhm.
upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots and abomination of the earth.
Right. So it says that upon her forehead, she had a name and it said Mystery Babylon, right? Why is it a mystery? It says Mystery Babylon, then it says the great, the mother of harlots. And there's a proverb that says, as is the mother, so is the daughter, right? So if she's the mother of harlots, all these other countries would be their daughters when they go in these other countries. That's why now you got Arab women that's walking around in pants. They used to go to jail for that. But through America going over there with their policies, with their abominations, they've talked them into allowing these women to be whores, right? And that's what they promote in this country, for our women to be whores, right? So it's a mystery Babylon, meaning nobody really at this time when it was being written and for a long time after, nobody understood who this woman was. But it's a reason in particular why I say mystery, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 12. Let's go back to Revelation 12 and let's read verse 14. Mystery, right? Let's read that.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 14. And
Mhm.
to the woman was given two wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and a times, and a half a time, from the face of the serpent.
Right. So time, and half a time is going into 350 years, right? America, the first slave ships, right? And I'll say the first slave colonies were established in 1619. 350 years later, that's 1969, right? And that's when the truth of the Bible began to be taught in this country, right? That's when you had the Hebrew Israelite movement began, right? So it says, but as far as mystery, I want to focus on this part right here. It says, we would be nourished, right? We would be nourished, meaning we would be taken care of. I says from the face of the serpent, right? These same people who took us into captivity was who we were going to be relying on and be nourished by, right? So that's the same thing. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. It's the same thing, Deuteronomy 28, in the curses the Most High told us that what happened to us. Deuteronomy 28, and I want to say it's verse 48, right? Nourished at the face of the serpent. Yeah, let's read verse 48.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48.
Mhm.
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemy, which the Lord hath sinned against thee, in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he
Mhm.
shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Right. So you got to understand when you rely on the people who are your enemy for everything, that
Yes,
confuses people. That makes some people think that's part of that witchcraft, right? That's part of that witchcraft that they're using. That makes people think, well, the white man, he gave me a good job and I got a car and he gave me a loan and they wrote me a letter of recommendation and we get our driver's license and our passport. We get everything we need from our enemy. Thus saith the Lord. That's why it was a mystery. That's why to this day, you still got people who when you tell our people, hey, those are the Edomites who the Most High say he hates, Right now, we don't teach a skin color doctrine. I don't want nobody to get confused. We don't teach that we go off of skin color. But nonetheless, the Most High gave us descriptives or descriptions of who these people are. He said that they were red, their blood showed through their skin. Now, there's many times where we done been at camp, and the elder can vouch for what I'm about to say. Someone who appears to be an Edomite will walk up and ask questions about the Bible, and we'll deal with you, right? We'll deal with you until you tell a damn, until you open your mouth and you tell a damn lie. We'll deal with you, and it
That
never
spirit
fails.
coming out then.
That's right. Go ahead.
That spirit coming out in them. So they can't stand that word, the truth, man.
That's right. They can't stand it. Now, we teach the whole Bible over here, New Wine Congregation of Israel. We're not gonna omit nothing. It's a lot of places that omit the stuff we going over right now. It's places that ain't finna teach this because they know that that's gonna stop donations from coming. That's gonna stop them alms from being given. That's gonna stop them tithes from being paid. We don't give a damn about your money, right? We sent here to do one thing, and that's read and that's teach this word about the Bible. Thus saith the Lord, as it is written, right? So the Most High letting us know this is why it's a mystery. Let's go back. Revelation 17. This is why it's a mystery because the same people who are the devil would be the same people who you will be nourished by, right? The same exact people who you will get everything you have from, right? Let's go to so real quick. So we read Psalms 137, right? Who it says that Esau is the daughter of Babylon, right? So now let's keep reading. Let's keep going. Verse 6.
Verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the matrix of
Martyrs.
Jesus. Martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Right. So he's seen this woman and she drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, all right, of Yahweh Shai. It says, and when he saw her, he wondered with great admiration, right? He wondered with great admiration. So the question would be, well, who are the saints whose blood this woman is drunk with, right? Let's go to Psalms 148 and verse 14, right? Psalms 148 and verse 14 to see who the saints are. The saints ain't everybody. The saints ain't everybody, right? Who are the saints? Psalms 148 and 14. Let's read that.
Psalms chapter 148 and verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
He also exalted the horns of his people, the
Mm-hmm.
praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
a people near unto him. Praise ye the
Right,
Lord.
David, praise the Lord for that thing right there. I like how you said that of his people, of all his saints, right? Even meaning for sure the children of Israel. So the children of Israel are the saints. It's not all nations, it's not just whoever believe. It's we read it. Even the children of Israel. That's who the saints are. So this woman, let's go back. This woman is drunk with the blood of the Israelites, right? It says, and for the martyrs of Yahweh Shai, of who the world calls Jesus Christ. So the martyrs would be who? That would be when you read in the book of Acts, right? Peter, Paul, those would be the martyrs, a lot of the martyrs of Hamashiach, right? They died for the word of the Lord, right? So this one, who killed Paul? Who had Paul and Peter and them put to death? The Romans, right? The Romans descend from Idumea. The Idumea is the Greek name for Edom. Same people, same people. And everybody know, even the internet know that the Romans were so-called white people, right? The rulers of Rome, right? Because you had our people scattered there as well, right? So It says that they were drunk with one race, basically. In other words, it's one race of people who killed both the martyrs and the saints. So now I want to show y'all something. All right, I want to show y'all something from a book, right? Highly recommend you get this book, right? So let me blow it up. Right. So this book is Who is Esau Edom, right? Written by Charles A. Wiseman, right? Who is Esau Edom? Now let me go inside the book. We're gonna go to, let's see, let me exit out of there. We're gonna go to page 62 inside this book. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's read, let's start reading that from the top.
Why was this Herod troubled about the birth and arrival of the Messiah, Jesus Christ? First, we find that Herod was not of the same racial lineage of Christ as Christ.
Right. So Herod, when you read in the book in the Gospels, he ordered that all the babies under 2 years old be put to death. Herod was ruling over Jerusalem, right? He was the king over Jerusalem, but he was not a Jew. He was an Idumean, right? Herod was an Idumean. It's gonna say that, right? Let's keep going.
I can't make out that green, King. You're gonna have to read it.
Okay, Salah, I read it. Salah. It says Antipater and Idumean, Herod, Antipater, and Idumean by birth. Idumean is the same word as Edom, right? It's just the Greek way to say it, right? And he was ruling in Rome. This is who these people were. It says Antipater and Idumean by birth was made by Caesar, procreator or ruler over all Judea, and his sons commonly called Herod the Great, right? So like it says, was at the time of Christ's birth, king of Judea, including Idumea, right? It says Herod, like his father Antipater, was an Idumean or Edomite by birth, right? So he was an Edomite by birth. That's the people who killed the martyrs of Christ, right? Those are the same people. Idumeans are Edomites, right? So it's making it clear. Now, I didn't write this book. As a matter of fact, a Edomite wrote it. A Edomite wrote that book, right? So this is why it's fundamental to read. This is why it's good to read. I highly recommend that book. There's some good stuff in that book. It's a few bones that you got to spit out, but all in all, it's a good book, right? So let's go back to Revelation 17 and let's see where we left off at. Oh, verse 7. Let's read that. So he wondered after her when he saw her with great admiration, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 7. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, which have the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Right. So he said, John, why you marveling after this woman? I'm gonna tell you exactly who this woman is and who the beast that carries her is and who the 7 horns that has 7 heads and 10 horns. I'm gonna explain all that to you. Right? Let's read on.
The beast that thou sawest was as is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and
Mhm.
go into perdition. And they that dwelled on the earth shall wonder, whose name was not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is.
Right. So he says, John, the beast that you saw it did exist, right? It's so John has this vision around 96 AD, right? Rome is ruling. Understand, that's very important to understand. It says the beast that you saw was and is not. It was in your vision and it is currently not existing, right? It was in your vision, John, and it also is currently not yet in existence. Keep that in mind. It says, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, which is Europe, right? That's Europe, if you understand, if you got ears to hear. It says, and go into perdition. It's going, this beast that was in your vision and is not yet in existence will go into destruction. It says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, who's meaning those that dwell on the earth is some people, the ones who will never understand this are the ones whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the earth. It's people who gonna read this and they not gonna understand it, and it's because they were not written in the book. They're gonna follow the beast. They're not gonna be able to recognize the beast, right? So he says, and when they behold the beast that was in your vision and is and also exists now, it is not. Sorry, it says that was in your vision and is not. It doesn't exist yet and yet is, but it is here now, right? We're going to break that down, right? We're going to make that plain, right? So let's keep going. Verse 9.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Right. So the mind that have wisdom, the 7 heads are 7 mountains, 7 different governments. All right. Let's read on.
And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet, and
Right.
the other is not yet come.
It says, and there are 7 kings. 5 of the kings are fallen, John, and 1 is in existence, and the other is not yet come. The one that is Rome. All right. So in order to, when you look up what you got to look up is the kings that were ruling during this time. Like I said, this is during 96 AD when he wrote this. But when you look this information up about the kings who were ruling at this time, you got to understand that they didn't go by the names that we go call them today, right? So for instance, it said 7 kings, 5 are fallen. The 5 that are fallen are Greece, France, Spain, and Russia. But they didn't go by them names during that time, during the 1st century. You have to look up 1st century names. The 1st century name for Greece is Achaia. It wasn't called Greece back then, it was called Achaia. The 2nd century, the 1st century name for France was Gaul or Aquantia, Aquitania, right? It wasn't called France, it was called Aquitania or Gaul, Gaul. Spain was called Hispania. That's what it was called in the 1st century, Hispania. Russia was called Scythia in the 1st century. It was called Scythia. So it says the one is, that's Rome. It says the other is not yet come, right? Who ruled after Rome? You had Great Britain. Great Britain ruled after Rome. That's the other that is not yet come. It says, matter of fact, it says, and he must continue a short space. It says, and continue a short space. It says, so that's what Britain did. Britain didn't last very long. Britain only was around for a little bit of time. It says, read verse 11.
And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is
Mm.
of the 7th, and goeth into perdition.
Right. So he said, the beast that was in your vision, John, and is not, meaning not yet existing, is the 8th. So this beast was in your vision and is not yet existing, is the 8th, and is out of the 7th. The 7th one was Great Britain. So now we got to ask ourselves, what country came out of Great Britain? America, 1776, prior to when in 1600s, when they came over here, they had their independence revolt. The revolution, American Revolution, was against Great Britain. America came out of the seventh and is even the eighth, right? And is even the eighth. America came out of the seventh of Great Britain in 1776. So it says that one is going to go into perdition, right? It's going to be destroyed, thus saith the Lord, right? So let's read verse 12. If you lost, rewind it back and listen to it again. Most High willing, you will get it, right? He who have ears to hear, let him hear, right? Let's read verse 12.
Verse 12. And 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings,
Mhm.
which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as king 1 hour with the beast.
Right. So the 10 horns are 10 kings. What kind of kings? Edomite kings, right? All those 10 horns, them 10 nations that we name, go back and listen to them 10 horns. Those are all Edomite countries, right? And it says, and receive power with it says, which have received no kingdom yet, right? In the time that you're living in, John, they haven't received the kingdom yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, right? 1 hour with the beast. So when you like kind of do the math and play around with it a little bit, the Lord say a day to him is 1,000 years, right? So when you kind of do that math and break down what an hour is, that'll be 41 years with that math, right? 41 years in like some months, 6 months or whatever, right? So I want to look at something. Let's look at the EU, right? So we're going to look at the it was before it was called the EU, it was called the European Economic Community. So I'm gonna read this part right here, Elder. It says
Mhm.
several terms redirect here for this organization's successor. See European Union. So after you had the European Economic Community, you had the European Union, which we have today. It says for the EU's pillars, see European Community. For the EU internal market, see European single market. For generic internal market, see common market. For the other uses, see common market disambiguation and EEC disambiguation, right? So all of this got to do with Europe. It's not the European and African and Chinese Union, it's the European Union, the Edomite Union, right? So let's keep going. It says the European Economic Community, EEC, was a regional organization created by the Treaty of Rome, right? Because that's who they come out of. It says in 1957, aiming to foster economic integration among its member states. It was subsequently renamed the European Community, the EC, upon becoming integrated into the first pillar of the newly formed European Union in 1993. In the popular language, the singular European Union was sometimes inaccurately used in the wider sense of the plural European communities, in spite of the latter designation covering all the three constituent entities of the first pillar. The EEC was also known as the European Common Market, right? So dealing with money, if you understand. It says in the English speaking countries and sometimes referred to as the European Community, even before it was officially renamed as such in 1993. In 2009, the EC formally ceased to exist. So the European Community got merged into the EU, right? It says the EC formally ceased to exist and its institutions were directly absorbed by the EU. This made the Union the formal successor institution of the community, right? So watch this. It says the community's initial aim was to bring about economic integration, meaning they was going to put all their money together. It says including a common market and customs union, right? Dealing with trade and stuff like that. It says among its six foundation members, right? Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and West Germany. Now, West Germany and East Germany became Germany. So that's why when I told y'all earlier that was Germany, that's why I just said Germany. But that's where I get it from, right? It said it gained a common set of institutions along with the European coal and steel community, right? So now we're going to go into the European coal and steel. Now, what is coal and steel used to produce? Weapons, right? So they had a interest in controlling the weapons market, right? So let's go up here. It says the European Coal and Steel Community was a European organization created after World War II to integrate Europe's coal and steel industries into a single common market, right? We're gonna micromanage who get weapons, right? And who get weapons technology, right? It says into a single common market based on the principle of supranationalism, meaning, in other words, based on the principle of white supremacy, because that's who this was for, the Europeans. White supremacy
Mhm.
based on that principle, which would be governed by the creation of a high authority made up of appointed representatives from the member states who would not represent their national interests, but would take and make decisions in the general interest of the community as a whole, meaning they would make sure that the white race stayed on top. That's all that's saying. It says it was formally established in 1951. It was formally established in 1951 by the Treaty of Paris, signed by Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and West Germany, and was generally seen as the first step in the process of European integration, meaning everybody coming together. That's why the 10 horns was on that beast, right? But that red beast. Understand? So let's keep going. This is following the end of the Second World War in Europe. The organization is a spiritual predecessor to the contemporary European Union as its subsequent enlargement of both members and duties ultimately led to the creation of the EU. It says the ECSC was first proposed via the Schuman Declaration by French foreigner Robert Schuman. That's an Amalekite, a fake Jew, a so-called Jewish man. It says on 9 May 1950, commemorated in the EU as Europe Day, the day after the fifth anniversary of the end of World War II. So 5 years after World War II ended. It says to prevent another war between France and Germany. So that whole thing was to make sure that they didn't go back to war. He declared the solidarity in production from pooling coal and steel production would make war between the two not only unthinkable, but materially impossible because they both had equal say so in who got coal and steel, right? Because that's what you use to make weapons. It says the treaty created a common market among member states that stipulated free movement of goods without customs, duties, or taxes. So they wouldn't tax each other and prohibited states from introducing unfair, competitive, or discriminatory practices. Its terms were enforced by four institutions: a high authority composed of independent appointees, a common assembly composed of national parliamentarians, a special council composed of national ministers, and a court of justice. These would ultimately form the blueprint for today's European Commission, right? For today's European Commission. It says, let me see. Yeah, okay, let me keep going. It says European Parliament, the Council of European Union, and the Court of Justice of European Union, respectively. The ECSC set an example for the pan-European organizations created by the Treaty of Rome. Pan meaning all of them, all of the Europeans. They the ones who started it, and they set the example for all of them. It says in 1957, the European Economic Community and European Atomic Energy Community. Now that's important. Let's go into that. European Atomic Community, right? So atomic dealing with splitting atoms, dealing with atomic bombs, dealing with nuclear weapons, right? So it says the European Atomic Energy Community, Euratom, is an international organization established by the Euratom Treaty on January 1st, 1958 to coordinate nuclear research. So in other words, the European countries would develop nuclear weapons and share that information with themselves, not other countries. It said, but they would do it with them sparingly, but chiefly with themselves. It says ensure safety standards and secure peaceful atomic energy supplies for European nations. All right. So when it's talking about, when you read in Isaiah, when it say the Lord created the smith to create the waster, he put it on their spirits to make these atomic weapons to destroy themselves. Right. So now let's go back to Revelation 17 and let's read verse 13.
Verse 13, these have one mind and shall give their powers and strength unto the beast.
So that's what we just read. These people, these Edomite nations they're going to have one mind, and they shall give their power and strength unto the beast. They ended up making America the superior power of NATO, of the European Union, right? They ended up doing that. These shall have one mind and shall give their power and strength to the beast, right? Let's keep going. Verse 14.
Verse 14, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is a Lord of lords, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Right. So the European Union is telling us that's who's going to make war with the Lamb, right? It's not going to be so much as all the nations in the world. It's going to be chiefly the European Union that's going to make war when the king come back, when he cracked that sky, right? It says, and they that are with him, but it says, but the Lamb shall overcome them. The Most High, his son, of course, gonna win that battle. It says, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him, that are with the king, are called chosen and faithful. Right? So I want to see something. Let's go to Obadiah. Obadiah, because it's saying these have one mind, right? Obadiah 1, and let's start at verse 1.
Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus says the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle.
Right. So this is a vision. You know how you get a letter from the government or the whoever, it say to whom it may concern, this is concerning Edom. Right. It said, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. Right. Read on.
Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised.
Right. All these nations, these African nations, the Chinese, the East Indians, they hate America. They hate the so-called white men. They don't like them being over in their country, raping them, they women and robbing them of their resources. They don't like that. Just because they got the suit on don't mean they like it. The most I say, he's gonna make them greatly despised. Right? Read on.
The pride of thy heart have deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks,
Mm-hmm.
whose habitation is high, that saith in their heart, Who shall bring me down unto the down? Who shall bring me down to the ground?
Right. So it said, your pride done deceived you. Look at your president. Don't he walk around prideful, thinking that they
Mm-hmm.
can whoop anybody? Right. You had something? Go ahead, Elder.
No, I agreeing with you.
Yeah, they walk around prideful because they got a military base all over the world for one. But now it's giving the description of them people. It say, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Clefts of the rock is cave dwellers. That's what the word Caucasian mean. It mean cave dweller. The caves, what caves? The caves of Georgia, Russia. And before that, the caves of Mount Seir. Those were Edomite nations that dwelt in them caves. It said whose habitation is high. They like to live up high. That's why they made skyscrapers. That saith in their mind, who shall bring me down to the ground? In order to talk big like that, that means you got to have some power. Who gonna bring me down? All right, I'm up here, right? Let's keep going.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
Right. The nation who represents themselves by the eagle, we looked at that earlier. It said that's America. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, right? So believe it or not, these people done went up there, right? People say, you got people who say, well, you can't go outside of the firmament. That's true. You can't go outside of the firmament, but you don't have, let's go to it. Let's go to the book of Genesis real quick. Let's go to Genesis 1. You don't have to go outside of the firmament for them to go out there into the moon and the space and all that, right? Let's read this. Um, let's start at verse 14, Genesis 1.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. And
Mhm.
God said, Let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night.
So hold
And let
on. Where it say them lights is at?
in the firmament.
In the firmament, not outside of the firmament. They in the firmament. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? They don't have to leave the firmament for them to go up there and put satellites in orbit, for them to go to the moon. They not leaving the firmament. It say, let there be lights in the firmament to divide in of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, right? And that's going into the sun, the stars, and the moon. So them people, they went up there. That's how your cell phone work. That's how I'm in Macon, Georgia, the elder in Valdosta, Georgia, and we having a whole conversation. It's because they got satellites up there in orbit. You understand? So let's go back to Obadiah. So it say, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thy nest is the space station, right? The International Space Station that's made from Russia, who's Edomites, and America, who are Edomites. Though thou set thy nest among the stars, it's a thence. The word thence mean from the point y'all take y'all ass up there. From that point will I bring you down. And that was when? In the 1960s, right? From thence, that was in 1969, as a matter of fact. From
Mm-hmm.
thence, from that damn point, when you take y'all ass up there, them space and bother with that, that's gonna be the start of y'all demise. And that's what happened. From that point on, that's when you start having the truth come out. That's when you had Abba Bivens coming out and teaching the word with One West, and the Israelites started to wake up. Right from that point on, the word has been being prophesied against Esau and his nation, and this country been falling ever since. Right. So from there, let's go back to Revelation 17. So verse, let's read verse 14. So let's read verse 14.
Verse 14.
Mhm.
These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Read on.
And he said unto me, the water which thou sawest, where the horse sitting, where the horse sitteth, are people and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Right. So the waters are people. When you sit on something, you oppressing it. So all these waters that it sat on are it oppressing different people and multitudes and nations and tongues. Right. So this is what you see. It's literally sitting on different waters, but it's doing that so that it can oppress these people. Cause it damn sure ain't being a friend. They doing that so that they can oppress them and control them. Right? So let's go back. Verse 16.
And the 10 horn which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire.
So it's letting us know, prophetically speaking, it say the 10 horns, the European Union, which you saw on the beast, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. They're going to destroy America, right? Let's look at this real quick. Fair use.
Ce qui est important, et c'est tout le travail.
Fair use, we don't own this. We don't own the rights to any of these videos, right? Fair use, under the Copyright Act, we are allowed to use these videos for educational purposes only, right? So let's watch and see, does the EU hate America, right?
Faut faire par filière.
So it says here, what's important is that we pause future investments in who? With America.
Que les investissements à venir ou que les investissements annoncés ces
It says, or those announced in recent weeks.
dernières semaines, ils soient un temps suspendu.
Until we've clarified things with the United States. This is the French president.
Tant qu'on n'a pas clarifié les choses avec les États-Unis d'Amérique. Parce que quel serait le message
What would be the message of having
d'avoir des grands acteurs européens qui
big
se mettent à investir
European players investing billions of euros? So because they do got their own currency, the euro,
des milliards d'euros dans l'économie américaine
in American economy at a time. So they like, we need to stop investing in America. Because why? They secretly planning on one day we finna destroy America. This is what they talking about behind the scenes. You understand? This is what they talking about. And Trump, man, he ain't making it no better. He pissing them all the way off. Right? Let's keep going.
au moment où ils sont en train
It say when they are hitting us, but with what? They hitting them, America's hitting them with tariffs and sanctions.
de nous taper. Donc il faut qu'on ait de la
It say, so we need collective solidarity between who? Between the EU, between the 10 horns.
solidarité collective. Ce qui est important.
Right? So let's look at another one. Right?
There is now a concern that Europe can't rely on America, and even more that America under Trump may be hostile to Europe. And so you're seeing an anger, you're seeing an unwillingness. You know, you are seeing a recognition in Europe that we need to build up our own military defense industry. And you could say, well, that's great. That's what the Europeans need to do. But if you couple that with the tariff debate, which we started with, and the way that the US is behaving on tariffs, you have, I think, an anger at the United States amongst its allies that is damaging. If your foreign policy, which I think is the case in this White House, is a sort of mafia mobster kind of foreign policy where you go around bullying and you go around saying, have you got the cards? Have you not got the cards? You have a very transactional approach. In the end, your allies are A, not going to like that, and B, going to behave accordingly.
See that? They say your allies ain't going to like that and they're going to behave accordingly. So
This is the
Europe.
There is now
That's all on it. Europe is turning against this whore, man. This is what we're reading in the Bible, right? This is how we know the Bible is a real book. So understand, matter of fact, let's go to Second Esdras chapter 13. And let's go to verse 30. Understand, in it said that in Revelation that these 10 horns were going to make war with the Lamb. That's chiefly who's going to be fighting. That's who's going to be fighting chiefly against Yahweh Shah when he come back. the European Union. It's gonna be some other nations involved, but watch this. 2nd Ezra 13, and let's start at verse 30.
It's 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 30.
Mhm.
And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth.
Right. When they it's gonna be an astonishment, because when they see that Christ is a black man and he come in one of them things they call a UFO, they're gonna be astonished. Right? Let's keep going.
And one shall undertake to fight against one another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another.
Right. And one realm against it's gonna be things going on in the spirit realm as well. So it's gonna be fighting going on, right? Let's keep going.
And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall happen, which I showed thee before, and then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending.
Right. Then everybody's gonna see the black Messiah, who the world calls Jesus, right? Read on.
When all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another.
So they gonna be fighting against America, but when they hear his voice, it say they're gonna leave their own land and the battle they have against America, each other, and it says they're gonna do what? The next verse.
And a number of multitudes shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting.
This is why they made the Space Force, because they know that it's gonna be something from space that come here to fight them, right? This is why they made that. So they're gonna lead the fight they got with each other, and they're gonna come willing to fight against our king, right? Let's read on.
But he shall stand upon the top of the Mount Zion.
But he gonna stand upon Mount Zion, right? Read on.
And Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and built, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands.
Right. So that's when everybody gonna see it say Zion shall come and be showed to all men. Everybody gonna see that we are God's people, that we the chosen. Damn, them niggas was the people after all, right? As being prepared and built, because the kingdom is within us. We've been being prepared and we've been being built. We've been trying to get this is why we got to get our spirit right. This is why we got to stop the bickering. This is why we got to stop all that unnecessary foolishness, because we supposed to be being prepared for this. We supposed to be getting built up, right? This is what the Most High telling us, right? So let's go back. When he come back, everybody gonna see that we the people, right? Let's go to let's go back to Revelation 17 and verse 4. So verse 14 say that they that are with him are called chosen and faithful. Why? Because we've been preparing for his second coming, right? And we're faithful to the building up of ourselves, right? Then it says the woman that the waters that you saw where the horse sit are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, right? And then it said the 10 horns. Let's read verse 16.
Verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Move that little thing out the way up.
That's like,
and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire.
So it say these shall burn her with fire. It say the same thing in Revelation 18. Let's go there. Say the same thing in Revelation 18 and verse 8. Say they shall burn her with fire. All right, let's read that.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her.
Right. Read on.
And the king of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
Right. Canada, all these nations, they allies, they gonna be sad when they see America get burned, finally get destroyed. When they see her on fire, when they see this work, man, it's that movie. I mentioned it the other time I was up here. ISS on Netflix, man. There's a scene in there so powerful where they actually depicting America getting bombed with them nukes. And boy, when I tell you, it looked just like a lake of fire. I'm telling you, that's a movie. That's one you should watch. They make these movies because they see what the Bible is saying. The niggas just don't see it. Right?
Yeah, they stole a lot of movies out the Bible, man. 300, Samson. I mean, we can keep on. All the superheroes come out the Bible. They black. They just made them white, man. Like Spider-Man, Captain America, and all that shit, man.
That's
That
right.
come out the Bible.
That's right. Right. Let's read verse 10. So when America get destroyed, the allies and the merchants, right, the people buying and selling with her are going to be standing afar. Let's read that verse 10.
Revelation 18 and verse 10. Standing afar for the fear of her torment, saying, at last, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour we brought King, we brought that out at Camp 7, man. Said in 1 hour is thy judgment coming.
That's right. Right. It's only gonna take an hour.
Yeah.
It's only gonna take an hour for this whole place to be up in flames, man. That's why. Go ahead.
And this was so sad about it, man, because you got a lot of Jake and Eves. I don't heard that, and I don't even thought it myself. I can make amends with God whenever He come back, ask Him forgive me, bro. If He gonna destroy the world in 1 hour, when you see Him coming back, you gonna be so shocked, amazed at all this stuff happening. You ain't gonna even think about forgiveness. You gonna be like, damn. So you ain't gonna have time to ask Him to forgive you. That's why you need to get right now.
That's right. That's right, man. That's absolutely right. Right. So it's gonna be too late then. Right. It's gonna be too late to learn. It's gonna be too late to repent. It's only gonna take 1 hour for this place to be burnt, utterly burnt with fire. That's how hot that fire is from a nuclear bomb. It's 10,000. They say it's 10,000 times hotter than the sun.
Hey, man, who want to get caught up in that, bro? Golly. Oh, man.
Your pride ain't worth that, man.
It ain't, bro.
It ain't worth that, man. It's best to just, repent while we still can. Right?
And then,
so
King,
go ahead.
And then, King, on top of that, all right, after you die that death, you're going to be risen up to get judged just to die again.
To die again.
What sense that make, bro? God damn.
Just to die again, man.
Just to die again.
So, and that's eternal torment.
I'm finna say that. Yeah, we ain't coming back.
That's eternal torment, though. In that lake of fire. So it ain't worth it, man. That's why we got to get our spirits right. Right? Let's keep going.
Verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
Because America is who import and buying all the merchandise from all these nations. So the merchants of the earth, right? The merchants of the earth, right, are going to mourn over her, right? Read on.
The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stone and of pearls and fine linens and purple and silk and scarlet and all thing wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble.
Right. So these are all the things that they deal with in trade, right? Oh, all over the world, right? Let's keep going.
Verse 13, and cinnamon, and odor, and ornaments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men.
And that's the Israelites,
And,
right? That's the slaves and souls of men. They
yeah,
mourn because they all these nations built their wealth off of us. They
yeah,
got they start and they wealth from free labor, free slave labor. It's telling you right there. No other people can say that they fit that description, that they help make the wealth of all these nations from slavery. And it say, and souls of men going into your personality, right? The way that you are, your belief system is based off of what they think and the philosophies that they have, right? So this is why we got to get right, man. Right. So
yeah.
let's go back. Let's go back to Revelation 17 and verse, let's see, verse 14. Well, now we read 14. Yeah, let's read 17.
Yeah. Verse 17, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the word of God shall be fulfilled.
So there's nothing nobody can do to stop this. The Most High have put it in their minds to fulfill his will. His will is that America be destroyed. His will is that his people be exalted again, get the kingdom and rule the earth. That's the whole way it was purposed from the beginning. You read in the law, we was never supposed to be equal to these nations. They were always supposed to be our subjects, right? When King David was building the temple, when Solomon was building the temple, the other nations were slaves. They weren't joint heirs with Hamashiach. That's for his people, right? Let's matter of fact, let's go to Revelation 19. The Lord purpose and will is to destroy these nations. Revelation 19, and let's start at verse 11.
Revelation chapter 19 and verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war.
So he coming back to make war, right? It's up, right? Let's keep going.
His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
Right? So he mad, his eyes is a flame of fire. He mad as hell, right? Also going into he drunk wine in moderation, right? Which make the whites of your eyes red. It says, and on his head were many crowns, not because they handed it to him, because he took them. He gonna destroy many kings. That's how he gonna get them crowns. And it says, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. It's gonna tell us about that name, right? Let's keep going.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God.
Right, his clothes gonna have blood all over from stomping out all these nations. Right, he said he gonna thresh the nations. When you thresh wheat or any type of corn, you beat it on the ground so that you can get the kernels out of it.
Yep.
That's what he gonna do to these nations. He gonna beat them to death, right? That's why his vesture gonna be dipped in blood. And they say his name is called the Word of God. So the name that no man knew but himself, but he himself is the Word of God. Nobody understands the mysteries in the Bible the way the Word made flesh does, because he is the Word, right? That's why, Lord willing, we get to the wilderness with him. He's going to give us all the breakdowns, right? All the breakdowns. Let's keep going.
Verse 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean.
Right. So the armies, he gonna come with an army. That's for war. It say that follow him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Now he got blood all over him. They gonna be white and clean because he said, no man, he said it in Isaiah 63, and no man helpeth me. Right. But I did all this destruction by my anger and fury, is what he say. Right. Read on.
Verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nation, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God.
Right, that's right. So it say out of his mouth go a sharp sword. That's the word. When you read 2 Esdras 13, he gonna speak the word, and it's just gonna set him on fire. Just destroy him. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Boom, you just to get destroyed. That's what he gonna do. It's saying it said that he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So all the heathen ain't gonna die in this event. Some of them gonna be killed, and the ones that's left over that go to the kingdom are gonna be ruled with a rod of iron. It's not gonna be a peaceful life for them. It said right there that he shall rule them with a rod of iron. It's not gonna be nothing ain't gonna be peaceful about that in the kingdom for them. It's saying he treaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty God, El Shaddai. Right? Let's keep going.
16. And he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Right, that's the king. That's our king. Right? Read on.
And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourself together unto the supper of the great God.
Right. So this angel, that's heavy. It's an angel that stands in the sun. That's how powerful that angel is. It cried with a loud voice, saying to all the birds, come and gather yourself together to the supper of the Most High. Right? Read on.
That ye may eat the flesh of kings and the flesh of captains and the flesh of mighty men and the flesh of horses and of them that sit on them and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great.
Right. So when it say he calling these birds to come and eat up all these dead bodies, when it say the flesh of horses, it's not talking about the literal horses. It's talking about when they go to fight against Yahweh Shah, they're gonna be using tanks, fighter jets, and a lot of these men gonna die. They're gonna get destroyed, and pieces of their bodies gonna be left on them tanks, hanging over. It might be an arm left hanging out of a F-15 fighter jet. That's what it means. They're gonna be picking the rest of that body off of them tanks and fighter jets and stuff. That's what it means. Eat the flesh of horses and of them that sit on them, right? And of the flesh of all men, both free and bond, small and great countries, right? Read on.
And I saw the beast and the king of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
Right. The beast, right, going into America, right? It says going to make war against him that sat on the horse, going to make war against the king, right? Read on.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Right. So the false prophet is going into Christianity, the face of the beast. That's how they would go in and indoctrinate countries, by false teachings, by telling two men that they can sleep together because God is love, right? By preaching a false Christ, a false image of Christ. It said that wrought miracles before him, right? What's the miracles that it did before them? Let's go to chapter 13. Revelation 13 and verse 13. It's not talking about miracles like turning, making people who cripple stand up and walk. That ain't what it's talking about. That stuff that go on. It ain't talking about that. Let's see what it's talking about. Revelation 13 and 13.
Revelation chapter 13 and verse 13. And he doeth great wonder, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Right. The fire coming down from let's look at it. What's the fire coming down from heaven?
Nuclear bomb.
It's a bomb, exactly. This the fire. Then in 1945, they dropped a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Right? Let me see, can I get let's watch this. Well, let's watch this.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Trinity test, the first detonation of a nuclear weapon, was conducted at 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, at the Alamogordo Bombing and Gunnery Range in New Mexico.
That's that miracle, because John seen it. You gotta understand, there was no such thing a word ICBM missile, atomic missile, nuclear bomb. It just looked like somebody had fire and dropped it from the sky, and that's a miracle. That's a miracle to know how to split atoms, right? And they over there doing all type of madness, man. So that's the same thing that they're gonna use to destroy themselves, right? Let's go to Isaiah, right? Last precept. Isaiah chapter 54. Hold on, let me see. Isaiah 54 and verse 16. Let's read that.
Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coal in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy.
All right. So remember, we read about the coal, them joining, and the European Coal and Steel Union. The Most High say he made them create that. He made them create the European Coal and Steel Union so that they could share nuclear work and research with each other. America had it, and then they shared that information with the same people who gonna drop the bomb on them. Right? It said he created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. That's a smith is a person who made weapons. It say that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. When Einstein figured it out and split them atoms and said, I can make an atom. And of course they using witchcraft, right? It said, I have created the waster to destroy, right? So you got Christians who read this next verse and they think that just mean ain't nothing gonna happen to them. But the only way that weapon ain't gonna prosper against you is if you keeping the commandments. You got to be in the truth, right? You got to be in the truth. So America's gonna get burned, man. Most are willing, everybody's repenting, striving and doing their best to, get themselves cleaned up with the washing of the water by the word, man. We ain't got much time. This world is almost over. You seen it for yourself. The European Union, NATO, they getting tired of this place, man. And they slowly but surely putting their money together and their research together to be able to burn this place with fire. Right. So all praises and honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Right. His brother Nahshon with Elder Ozias. All right. New Wine Congregation of Israel. Shalom, y'all.
Shalom, King.